Okay, we'll get started. So thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about systems and applications, in particular composite sound curtains is what we're going to be looking at. Now, I start with this slide and it says which product, which design. If you saw the previous video in this series, we talked about our noise block rigid panels. And that's what you see here on the left. You have your steel panels. They can make enclosures. They can make barriers. What we're going to talk about today is the composite sound curtains on the right, which is basically mass-loaded vinyl sandwiched between 1 or 2 layers of insulating fill, and they can also make enclosures. And I guess you say, well, why do you have both? Well, it depends on what you need to do. If you need about a 25 to 45 dBA reduction, then you have to go with a much more massive structural, steel, sheet steel and insulation application. And if you need a little less, 18 to 25 dBA reduction, you can go with maybe a more cost-effective or a lower cost product, still a very durable product, but you don't really need this heavy-duty massive product for your application when you're controlling noise around such as a piece of equipment, something like that. So when we talk about composite just means that this product, this acoustic product, is going to both absorb as well as block sound all in one product. It doesn't just block sound and it doesn't just absorb sound. So for composite curtains, basically it's an acoustic. A lot of you have told, you know MLV or limp mass or mass loaded vinyl or limp mass barrier or vinyl combined with or plus a quilted fiberglass absorber, providing both sound blocking and sound absorption. So this is a cut view before it's actually safed off and sewn as a finished panel, but that's what we're looking for, composite, anything with sound blocking and sound absorption. Now, one thing I want to mention, if you hang with us during this whole presentation, we're going to be like any good teacher or any good class, you're going to get to watch a video at the end if everything works out right. So try to hang with us for about 30 minutes here. In the process of our curtain manufacturing, we have some things where we have factory cut to length support systems. So we're going to have different ways to support a sound enclosure made of curtains. We have quilting processes to quilt the product, and then we have sewing and factory cut penetration processes. So everything comes already sewn, fit to size, fit to your application for easy install. But that's really all that's involved in the manufacturing process. If we look at our noise block rigid panels and our composite curtain performance, as you see here on the x-axis, you have the center frequencies, 63 hertz through 8,000 hertz, and then the transmission loss in decibels, how much decibels per octave band it's going to block a sound spectrum or a sound within a certain frequency. And what we did here was, you can look here and you can see the top line, sound transmission class value to the right. Sound transmission class value is dimensionless, and basically the higher the number, the better its ability to block sound. So we can see that the steel panels, the rigid panels, which are about 5.5 pounds per square foot for this application in weight, they're quite massive, and they do quite a good job at controlling noise at 63 hertz all the way up to 8,000 hertz. Curtains now at a lower STC, so they don't block noise as well, but for a certain application, and many applications, it's all you need. So you can look here at the orange line, which is a 2 pound or 2.5 pound per square foot product, quilt and mass product. And then the purple line is a 1.5 pound per square foot massive product. And you can see here, the interesting thing is going from a 1 pound per square foot mass loaded vinyl to a 2 pound, you can see here that at 500 hertz and below, the 200 pound does help. But in the mid frequency band and the higher bands, going with a much more massive product or a 2.5 pound per square foot product, although it may help a little bit, it is just going to cost you more money. And so one of the reasons we want to look at sound spectrums and noise spectrums and which product is the right one to use is we want to know, is your noise levels predominantly in the 500 hertz range, the mid frequency range? Is it more in the high frequency range? Or is it in the low frequency where you have a lot of sound energy and you need a lot of mass to control that noise? That kind of compares the 3 products, rigid product at the top, and then our composite curtains on the next 2 curves. The two most common configurations of this product is what Kinetics would call our BQQ, or barrier sandwich between two layers of quilt here on the left. So you have your quilted fiberglass, your mass loaded vinyl in the center. Gives you a nice absorption both sides of the product, and in between that, it gives you a massive mass loaded vinyl, which is going to block sound. We also have a product called our RBQ, which is basically quilt only one side and then our reinforced barrier on the other. And in this case, since the quilt is only on one side, your absorptive material is on one side, that's the side that would face your noise source, maybe your noisy compressor or something of that nature. Mechanism of performance, we just talked about that, is a composite curtain is going to offer sound absorption, and it's going to offer sound transmission loss or sound blocking. Now for sound absorption, although we use the same density of media, of fiberglass insulation, shall we say, it comes in different thicknesses, 1, 2, or 4-inch nominal. And the reason I say 4-inch nominal is because it's 4-inch before you sew it, and then it gets compressed a little bit when you sew that. The mass loaded vinyl comes in either a 1 pound per square foot or 2 pound per square foot. So depending on your application, the greater the mass, the better it is to block sound. All the products that we have for our composite curtains, and many of Kinetics products, are independently tested and backed by those tests. ASTM C423 for sound absorption, and then ASTM E90 for sound blocking. And so we have all that information, those test reports, and they're all done in a NAVLAB accredited laboratory. There are various construction of these, as we talked about. We have different thicknesses of quilt, and of course we publish all the NRC and the sound absorption data per frequency. And then also we have different levels of the composite for the transmission loss. So a 50 here you see is a 1/2 pound per square foot mass loaded vinyl. A 100 is a 1 pound per square foot vinyl, and then a 200 is a 2 pound per square foot mass loaded vinyl. And the Qs just mean there's either one layer of Q, or 2 Qs means it's sandwiched. And then we have all the data showing you the STC. So very quickly you can look at this. You can either, as a acoustical consultant or engineer, you can actually use the frequency data and determine which one is best for your application, or very quickly to zero in, you can use the STC level. The higher the STC level, the better the blocking capabilities. Now, when you look at a composite curtain system, and what I mean by that is an enclosure, okay, let's say 4 walls and a roof, they offer typical noise reductions of 18 to 25 dBA. Now, you may say, wow, 18 to 25 dBA, is that a lot? Well, just to let you know, a 10 dBA reduction is going to be perceived as sounding half as loud. So whether it's quiet enough to meet that OSHA standard and OSHA limit, a 10 dBA reduction is going to be what I call an ooh-ah. Wow, that really made a difference. All right. And so maximum noise reduction, though, with curtains, what you're going to find out, the composite curtains, is they work extremely well with noise levels or spectrums that are predominantly 500 hertz and above. So more of the mid to high frequency noise that you may have if your process is producing that, as opposed to the low rumbling, these curtains work very, very well. Features and benefits, you know, it doesn't matter what your system will look like. The curtains are very forgiving. We can fit them in different contours. We can either close fit them or back them off of multiple walls and roof systems all in one. So they're very, very easy to work with. They're economical over the steel panels. The steel panels are great because sometimes you need our noise block panels because you need a lot more noise control, maybe 35 dBA, not 25 dBA. Curtains allow for inherent easy maintenance. We'll talk about that as we go. Easy install. You really don't have to hire, you know, if you have your own maintenance team, a lot of times they can put these up themselves. All the projects have specific submittals, piece marked installation drawings. So everything's just like an erector set, just like a model. It's easy to put together. The product meets Class A fire rating. I think that's one of the most important. So we may use it in a mechanical room of a commercial building. We may use it in a factory. We may use it in a central utility plant, wastewater treatment plant, all these different applications because mainly the Class A fire rating. Extremely long service life. excellent resistance to chemicals, and easily cleaned. So there's just some benefits and features of the product. Now, our systems, if you're making an enclosure with one of these around a piece of equipment or process, you can have different types of support systems. All the support systems that you're going to see over the next couple of slides are all bolt together. Everything's cut to size, very easy to install. So this one is a floor mounted frame system. You're going to have some columns, you're going to have an overhead track, track mounts to the columns in these different corner and splice pieces. And then there's always trolleys. The curtains you're going to see are going to hang from these trolleys from factory installed grommets in the curtain panel. Now, let's say you don't want columns. Let's say you don't want, for either housekeeping or maybe they're trip hazards, or it just isn't the way you want to go. We can look at ceiling suspended track. So we don't have to use columns. We can use ceiling suspended track, hooking in some threaded rod, adjusting the level either flush with the ceiling or suspending it below the ceiling. We also do heavy duty. You're going to see an example as we go through of a system that's 16 feet tall, and Kinetics had to design and can design very robust support systems. Maybe instead of a 1x1 or a 2x2 tube steel columns, they're using 4x4 HSS steel and some heavy duty, might be 16, 20 foot tall. And the nice thing at Kinetics, since we have our own structural team on staff, they can go ahead and design that for us. You can also wall mount our systems, and you can also ceiling mount overhead. So there's a lot of applications. You know, if you don't want the columns for an enclosure or a couple of walls, whether it has a roof or not, you can mount it in all these different fashions. Typical trolleys, we have some roller track, because sometimes you'll find out we can actually slide our track. We talk about double track. We'll talk about that in a minute, where you can actually slide one panel behind the other. And that's what we show here, system accessories and services. So these panels are inherently removable. So the panels will come with factory installed grommets at the top that just hook on to the hooks of the trolleys that then go into the track. And we have two different systems, a single track on the left and then a double track on the right. An advantage of the double track is you can actually slide one panel behind the other and very easily open up a large section of that wall system or enclosure system to either get in for routine maintenance, major maintenance, or equipment, putting it in and out, or that is replacing equipment, or getting in there maybe with some carts and things like that. So that's inherently easy to access. Also in these systems, when you start to enclose something, whether it was a rigid enclosure or these composite curtains, you still have to take into account some basic issues, lighting, access. You also have to look at the heat buildup within the enclosure. You want to make sure it vents properly, whether you're going to need a forced ventilation like a fan, an exhaust fan, or whether you can use passive ventilation. And so either way, Kinetics applies then our silencers, acoustic louvers, and things like that to help in those cases. This one is really interesting because you actually have a rigid noise block roof on a curtain system, which makes it easy to hang internal lights and things like that. Now, what I always believe in is a picture's worth 1,000 words. So our goal here in the next few slides is you may see something that's very applicable to an application you may have, an interest you may have. So in this one, it's a curtain wall. We have a simple curtain wall here. There's actually a curtain in the background that you can't see that runs to the right. And it's making a little mechanical space. There's pumps and fans in here. And an interesting thing at this facility is you walk in this door and you go up these steps, and out of the blue, the pumps or the fan kicks on, and it kind of startles you. It's kind of unsafe, especially when you're getting on these stairs. So we make a mechanical room. This happens to be actually a 2 pound per square foot mass loaded vinyl sandwich between 2 layers of quilt. So, you know, something very basic, very forgiving. Here's a system which is a wire braiding system, and kind of shows you the inside and out. Well, they didn't want to enclose the top, so the system consists of 4 walls, viewports sewn in at the factory, double sliding access doors made of curtains, and then for the noise up and over at the top, we're actually using some of Kinetics KB803 baffles to control that flanking noise up and over. So once again, another system, a lot of ways you can use a lot of standard product as applied to a non-standard application. Here's something very simple. Maybe you want to divide an area. There might be forklifts going through here, but in normal cases, you'd like to divide one area from the other, whether it's a slight thermal or a cross breeze, or more so just noise in one area versus another. So this is a double track. You can take half this wall, slide it behind the other half. In fact, this ended up being triple track. So you can actually part this right down the middle and collapse this wall left and right for easy access. This is another one separating two parts of a facility. On the background behind this wall is a very noisy area for manufacturing. A lot of it was in the 500 hertz band and above, but on the left side here, the side we're on, was actually receiving a slightly quieter area. And so they were able to, no columns, but do a ceiling suspended system. And I think this was roughly 20 foot tall here on the tallest part to the right. Systems don't have to be very difficult either. This is a simple floor supported track system. They were at 112 dBA. It was a cross-cut saw cut in aluminum extrusions, and you know how loud that is, and mostly mid to high frequency noise. So this was able to take it from 112 down to 85 dBA in the background of this photo. The only person that needed to wear hearing protection was the operator. You can also custom fit them to different systems. This is also an aluminum debridging process. It was quite noisy, and there was an in feed and an out feed on this system, and access ports with that you can get in for like strip curtains where you can actually reach through. But it all has mass, and it's all blocking sound, and it's all custom, but it's standard quilted composite product. Wastewater treatment plant. Doesn't look very difficult, does it? But it's very interesting because what they can do in this plant is this is all tied together. They can remove the roof. It's over all these different pumps in the area, controlling the noise in here. And in this particular application, there was multiple of these. There was a couple of dozen of these small enclosures, but very cost effective and easy to maintain and access. Now, sometimes we actually have a client that may want to custom fit. So this is a fin press enclosure for like heat exchanger fins, and they wanted to custom fit the enclosure, which I always like to kind of stand back from the enclosure a little bit to be the most cost effective. But this one was custom fit, and they had a number of these, and they actually worked out quite well with access and noise control. You might just want an area where you need a small enclosure for almost a manufacturing office space. Very forgiving product, plenty of view, easy access, lights above, so it works out really well over a metal enclosure. Here's one I was talking about before with a heavy duty curtain system, where we have a heavy duty track system. It was around a woodworking tongue and groove process at a woodworking facility, and this was actually 16.5 feet tall. And what was nice with this was we designed the system at Kinetics with all heavy duty tube steel. We mounted all of our track, all of our curtains, and then also we did a rigid roof. They're actually looking from above and viewing these processes. So there's actually a window port in the roof, as well as they were able to hang the lights. So it was just and these are all strip curtains here for easy in and out. So that's the nice thing with curtains, is they're very forgiving. It's easy to fit up. If you need to cut something that, maybe there was something you couldn't line up to really make it in the shop, but you needed to field cut it, very easy to field cut and very easy to safe off. You can also retrofit. This was a stamping and press process. Two different processes. You think stamping and press are the same, but it actually was a little different. And in this case, we were able to use much of their system and attach our product to it. So that would be a retrofit system. So these are all important ways to use the product. It's a great alternative to steel. If you need 18 to 25 dBA reduction, and you need even better, maybe reduction in the at the high end in the 500 hertz and 1000 hertz is where your excitation frequencies are. This is a great product to use. Now, another one is multiple. You can have multiple of these portable roller curtains. Now you can get a half dozen or a dozen of these, and actually as they get closer to each other, you can use a mass loaded vinyl to cover this corner and connect each. So you can make this in many different shapes where they come completely together and then close off with Velcro on this arm and this vertical arm, and then a mass loaded vinyl. So it's a really neat system. That was a picture I had of some actually were just in storage. They weren't actually using them for that grinding process there. So at Kinetics, we didn't want to keep you too long, but we create quiet that improves quality of life. I'm John Sofra, Director of Sales for the industrial, environmental, and commercial airside markets. You need anything, give me a shout, give my team a shout. We're here to help. Now, we're going to try something new. We're going to show you a video. So if you give us a second, it'll sum up everything we've done. And after that, we'll be completed. So Becca, I'll leave it to you. So I thank you for watching. If you have any questions, contact your local industrial, commercial, airside, or environmental representative, or contact me direct. We're here to help. Thank you.